Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. My name is Gabe Pyle. I am the program director for the International Center for Creativity's Industrial Design program. And I'm here with another grad of our program. Joe Deptowicz has joined us, and I'm so excited to hear what he has to say because he's going to talk to us about the work that he does 9 to 5, but also the work that he does beyond that. And he has already made an impact here in Columbus, and that impact is spreading, and I can't wait for you to hear more about that. But before we talk about that, we got to know Joe. So, Joe, first of all, thanks so much for joining us. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to join. It's an honor. So, yeah, my name is Joe Deptowicz. I'm a principal product designer at Lexia, which is an ed tech company based in Massachusetts and Dallas. So we're kind of north and south. And yeah, I've been doing that for the last 4 years. But I graduated, I just learned 10 years ago. I literally ran into, we'll get into created and all that, but I ran into a student that graduated this year. And I was like, oh, when did you graduate? 2026. It's like, that is 10 years after I graduated. Wow, that's a harsh realization on the fly in a conversation. But man, it's been a great 10 years, and God's done certainly a lot of things and brought me through a lot of things. So yeah, still here in Columbus. And man, I guess how I got here, graduated, started working in a small agency in Columbus, stayed, got married not long after, was there for a few years, and then I still remember some of my classmates joking about never becoming a youth pastor, quitting their design job and becoming a youth pastor. Well, lo and behold, it was not part of my plan.
Yeah.
But I did have a crazy God experience moment where he just kept opening doors. Very reluctantly, I went through them and was a youth pastor for 3 years. Thought I was kind of leaving design in the rearview mirror, and as God does, he opens other doors that you don't see coming. And so ended up, while I was vocational minister, began to work on a side project which accidentally spun into an actual business, which ended up running for 5 years and becoming a full-blown digital agency, which blew up during COVID with contractors, employees, the whole lot, until we kind of looked at each other and were like, do we want to do this? And the answer was no, we really don't. Eventually felt it was time to kind of go back into the marketplace, out of ministry, or you're always in ministry, but you know what I mean. And then did that, joined the same agency, actually, took an augmented reality product from kind of idea to reality, 0 to 1. And then was just wearing so many hats with that agency, with my own agency at the time. My wife was like, hey, she turned the computer over. You could be a product designer and just be a product designer and not do all the things like sales and marketing and, product management and all the different hats you wear as kind of an entrepreneur. And you could have health benefits, and we have a new child coming. And so it was one of those seasons where you're like, it's time to kind of just stop doing the fun thing and, make a decision for not just myself, but my family. And, God opened the door to a couple of different opportunities and ended up taking the job at Lexia as a senior product designer, which I've mostly done on the Letters platform, which is the educator-facing platform for the science of reading. And yeah, I've been doing that for the last 4 years. I think I've been just over a year as a principal. So a little bit more responsibility, but mostly just more money, which is awesome.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the door that God opens to say, this is where I want you to go. This opportunity is going to provide for your needs better right now.
Absolutely.
So this is a 10-year journey. You worked at an agency, and then after some time, you felt the call to become a youth pastor. You were a youth pastor for several years, and while you're working on a side project, that side project became its own thing that you maintained. Were you okay? So you started doing your own thing, your own agency. Were you still a youth pastor then, or did you say like, hey, I got it? Okay.
I didn't sleep very often. No.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Wait, so was there a time where you were working at two agencies and a youth pastor?
I was never working at two agencies and a youth pastor.
Okay.
Only one agency and youth pastor. So I was only running my own agency, and then the youth pastor at the same time. But that was in the midst of also COVID,
Yes.
and welcoming a child
Yeah.
who love to not sleep as well. And so I didn't really sleep. And
Yeah.
that's great for your health, FYI.
Yeah, for sure. So you've had a lot of different experiences that have brought you to where you're at now. And Lexia, give us. You said you are building curriculum for Lexia. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, so we have a content team. Good question. We have a content team that really creates all the curriculum. They have a really rich pool of authors that they pull from and they partner with even to create our curriculum, our content. So I'm on the product team, so more the tech side of things. So I work more with
Okay.
like
Yeah.
product managers, engineers on, even doing research, user testing of, how do we make this best for our users? I'm in a interesting job where one of the biggest things for our users is sometimes educators have stipends or things tied to doing this platform, and it's almost like a master's degree, our main course for
Hmm.
educators, and it's great, it's rich, but it's a master's degree that sometimes educators are told to do, not asked
Yeah.
to do. Sometimes they're
Yeah.
asked, depends on the district and the state and different policies. But part of it, and one of my main goals is like, how do we not make this experience terrible for them? Because when your users are forced to use something, there's a pretty good assumption you can say, a lot of my users are not going to enter into my product or, interact with my product in a happy, joyful way. So if there's any way to speed up, bring joy, bring, moments of delight and surprise, to their experience, that's part of what I work on as well. It's just like automation, helping, course managers and people working at the schools actually like, on the ground, not waste too much time, managing this professional learning platform.
What are some things that you've learned about your discipline or about the working world or about life in
Mm.
general that you would hope that current or future students could learn from you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing you don't know what you don't know until you get in. I think there's just there's levels, to this thing called work and life and design, and whether you're in product or another kind of market, uh, there are table stakes, or you're like good at what you do. Those are just like you're good at the programs. You have to have like the hard skills, automatically to some degree. So if you're getting paid for something, you should be valuable. That's why they're paying you, right? It's not just like I just want to go do this thing. Um, I think what you don't, and that might be quite obvious, like you should be good at your job, right? But I think what we don't think about when you say I should be good at my job is like the time management, the people versus the products. I know when I was in school, I just wanted to design sneakers, and I was like, what was the words we always used? Human centered design,
Hmm.
empathy driven design, which is true and is good, but like, are you really doing something? Like, you can put that on your portfolio and your deck, but it's like, are you actually going and talking to people? Are you having real conversations? Are you treating people like people? Because the products, if a awesome product is created and nobody uses it or knows about it, was it really ever created? Sure,
Yeah.
like it was, but it doesn't really matter, So there's just it takes so much to have a successful product and make real impact in people's lives, whatever that might look like and whatever you might be building. And so it takes a village in the same way, you hear that with, raising children. It's the same thing. It takes a team, and you can do more, obviously, with like, we're in the age of AI now, and you can optimize processes and systems and all things like that. But it's always going to come back to the people, So having people skills, having those soft skills, genuinely loving people and serving people well through design. That's something I have definitely come to learn in my career. Is like, at the end of the day, what do I want to be able to say I accomplished? Like, I
Mm.
am on products that have won awards, and like, yay, that's good. That I don't. I'd rather it, serve that educator well and know that that actually is impacting a student down the line and a family down the line and a district and a school, and actually, impacting change, wherever that might be, being engaged with. And so those are like the metrics that I think are more important than like, did I build something cool? Because that's all I wanted to do when I was in college. And I think that's a lot of all we wanted to do. Even if we were human centered, we really just wanted to make cool stuff, which is
Yeah.
okay because cool stuff is cool.
Cool stuff is cool, and I know you. I know you well enough from when you were a
Profound.
student, and then the scene, the what you've done since you've graduated. I think what I see in you is that you figured out how to really let your heart for people lead your projects. Because and now I'd love to transition into what you're working on now. You have figured out a way to make people the center, and not just the people, but their stories and their hearts and their spirituality, their connection to God, their connection to the greater community. So even though you're not building cool tennis shoes, you are doing something, you're designing something, you're creating something that is cool, that is maybe more human centered than anything that we could have designed in design school. So I would love to talk a little bit about some of the projects that you're working on now. Give us an idea of what else you have cooking.
Yeah, well, I just want to say first, like on that point, before we move on, like I think you can be a designer your whole life, and we all like know these designers, and hopefully we aren't them, and hopefully you aren't this if you're listening to it. That you're more ego driven, and I think that is when we're just even trying in our best efforts, to do things. I really look at my life in the last 10 years of being a professional, and like it's just the more I have sought the Lord, in so many different ways. That looks like so many different things, right? That he forms your, gives you a heart of flesh and not a heart of stone. I think it's really easy, especially in business and the marketplace, and honestly, even in ministry, maybe even more so, when you're really in people's lives, and life is hard. You'll have a lot of ups and downs, and I think, if the constant is a pursuit of Christ, there will be a transformation there that transforms your career, the way you create, and the way you make, and the way you treat people and serve people, and that is like I think that's the whole point, right? So, not to go on to a preaching rant right there, but
No, I mean, that one of the questions is wisdom you want to offer. Any other final words? This is a platform for me to ask you questions about what your life has been like since graduating, that might offer some insight or some encouragement to current students. And sometimes the encouragement I'm getting from grads is like, apply for the job because you never know. And that's great advice.
yeah,
But there's a lot of wisdom that you have to offer. Don't apologize for offering the wisdom that God has put on your heart. So that I love that. Don't hold back.
good stuff. Yeah, also apply for the job. Yeah, that's
Also
also
apply for the
really
job.
good,
You just never know.
really good
Yeah,
wisdom
or
as
start that
well.
side project, and if it becomes its own thing, go for it. Yeah, and if it seems like it's
100%.
not serving you, stop, sunset it, and listen to all the signals that are telling you it's
Yeah,
time to move on. The Holy Spirit,
yeah,
the market, economy, your wife. Listen to wisdom that God has put in your life to say,
yeah.
now's the time
Amen.
to move on. So yeah,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about this new project that you've been working on. It's been several years now since the Creative Conference has kicked off, right?
Yeah, yeah. The Creative Conference is just a vision that the Lord gave me, and I don't say that lightly. It was literally I was just like walking, and then it was this vision of people really just sharing stories and celebrating work, and making across people, within the church, within the marketplace, within all different sorts and kind of mediums of creative, and it was like that's cool. It was like captivating and beautiful for a moment, and then I was like in the midst of I think preparing for a youth night, and so I like
Yeah.
ran off and forgot about it for a year, you know. But eventually, actually in that new season of taking the job at Lexia and kind of specializing, in UX, UI, and product design, I just had more time to think and sit and pray. And in those seasons, God brought that vision back to me, and kind of had it burning kind of a hole, in my pocket, and was like, I need to be obedient to this, whatever this looks like. I am not an event planner, not an event person, and yet, I was a youth pastor for 3 years, so I did learn a couple things about planning events, and so let's be obedient to it. Let's do it, and just started, reaching out to all the creatives I knew, a lot of people at the ICC. Got connected one way or another with Jeremy Slagle, who's an amazing local designer, and me and him really hit it off, and just the Lord really gave us similar vision of just bringing creatives together,
Hmm.
for the kingdom, unto the kingdom, and sharing stories and celebrating one another and having real conversations and making real relationships. One of our big, visions, especially to start, and it's expanding now, I think beyond what we, thought or imagined, but was just, we wanted it to be intimate enough that you could meet someone at whatever we were putting on, and you could also go grab coffee with them, the next week. And there was actually relationship building, because I felt like there were a lot of really incredible creators in the Columbus community, in the greater Columbus community, and that were seeking Jesus, yet we all kind of felt like we were the only ones doing that and feeling the struggle of that, but we were all kind of standing, back to back almost. It's like, where is everyone else? And so it was really just making a space for everyone to turn around. And it really is incredible. I mean, every year, this is going to be year 5 now for the conference.
Wow.
In September. And every year, it's like, how are we going to find, 10-ish creatives that are incredible, like just killing it, from a creative quality standpoint and excellence, and also have like a spiritual maturity and like love, like pure love for the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's like, how could we possibly find that? It's like 1 week goes by and we're like, oh man, I guess we're gonna have to like, save those other people for next year, because we fill up so fast. And so it's just been incredible. And I don't even say that in like a prideful way in any way, because the Lord has just like connected us with the right people, or like brought a connection to a connection. Yeah. At this point we have people just like showing up, and it's like, you're the lead designer at, such and such. And so it's just really special to see, even just the Lord's hand on something that you're consistently obedient with, and, non-grasping as well, in terms of like, I think it's very common, and a common temptation, I think, for anyone when like you start something, like the initial vision for Creative Conference, I started, but I also thought it was going to be 1 year. And then I think it was either Jeremy or someone else came up to me after the conference and was like, so like, when's the next year's? And I was like, what do you mean next year? And so it's always been very open-handed, and I've just been so thankful for the people who come around. We have like a team of 6 or 7 now on our planning team. It's fully volunteer driven. No one's, getting paid. Our speakers, don't even get paid. And so it is really just like an offering unto the Lord. And we're figuring out what that looks like, and how it, what it looks like to grow and to just serve, creatives in so many different ways, even outside the Columbus area as we expand. So I'm getting long-winded. I could go and go and go about this.
Well,
but
and I want you to be able to talk more about Creative Conference. If you were to pitch this, someone doesn't know what it is, and you're saying, hey, you can come out to this thing. What's a 30-second soundbite to describe the Creative Conference?
Yeah, I think generally it's just a bunch of creatives. So it's across, you got product designers, graphic designers, every designer, photo, video, you got authors, musicians, all sorts of creatives. You have just entrepreneurs. We have IP lawyers, like pretty much anyone who is like creating things. Mm-hmm. We even have like church staff show up and things like that, where it's really just a community of people who want to create with God. Right, and with the church, and I don't just mean like the local church, but I mean like the church. With others who are pursuing, the good, true, and beautiful in this world, and in our local community too. We want to partner with each other. We want to just like baseline know each other, then we want to celebrate each other, and then we want to partner with each other. So that's kind of like the the 3-step hope for the community, is just to like I said, turn everyone around, be like, hey, so and so meet so and so. And then realize that like we can build a lot more together than alone, right? Trying to break down some of that even competitive comparison trap some of us get, locked in, which can be difficult because we have people in our community that are like technically in the market competitors, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, how do we love each other well? How do we love our clients well and serve our clients and grow our businesses together unto the Lord? So that they're like even difficult things like that. But I think you have that problem whether you are following Christ or not. It's what does that look like when you both are pursuing Christ and the Spirit and wisdom in that. So it's just a special time. There's so many beautiful stories. There's so much good work we see. We have a lot of lightning talks throughout the day, and then we have a keynote. We just started a panel, 2 panels last year. I think one was on AI, because how could we not talk about it? And the other one was just why community is important. So kind of having a panel to talk about, the contrast between being a creator in isolation or primarily in isolation versus being someone who is, in community and is known, by others. And so that was super special. This year, we have 2 more panels, kind of pitching the vision of the next 5 years of Created and celebrating the first 5, as well as digging into kind of the sacred secular divide and how to approach that and really break that down. So we have some people who were on staff at church, who are on staff at church, who went from marketplace to church, from church to marketplace and back. And that's going to be a really fun conversation. And then last thing, we've done workshops in prior years. This year we have a makers fair. So we're going to have like 2.5 hours because people just want more time to talk to each other and to meet each other. And we usually pack a little bit too much into one day. It's a 1-day conference. So we're going to have this 2.5 hour period where we have food trucks. We kind of have everything you need there to eat, to hang out. And then we're going to have all sorts of, not just vendor booths, but like live kind of experiential tables to go to. So we're going to have different kind of booths, if you will, to kind of stop by and see how people engage. We just got confirmed earlier today that one of our old speakers, Jonathan Rooney, who's an animator for the Bible Project, is going to be there kind of showing his process of how he animates and goes about, that. So it's going to be really cool. We're going to have people from photo, video, just all across, the different mediums who are just killing it. And we'll have some things people can buy and also some freebies and things like that. So super excited for that.
That is so exciting. So give us another preview of, not necessarily of what's coming up, but what are some of the talks that you've had, the speakers? What are some of the talks that speakers have given over the past few years? And you mentioned the panel last year. Give us an idea of some of the stuff that they've talked about in the past.
Yeah. Well, we always have a pastor. Kind of our tradition is we have a pastor who's really invested in entrepreneurship and the creative community, kind of lead off the conference. So we let one pastor have 15 minutes, and then we're like, all right, sit down. We're going to have the creatives do the rest of the day. But it really grounds it in, I think, God's presence and the reason we're there together. And so we've had some just really incredible talks grounding just like this is our identity as people. I think about Shane Huey from Cross and Crown, I think, Church, and Gerald Murphy the year before from Garden City, just grounding us in like this is who we are and this is the opportunity we have to really bring beauty and bring goodness into the world as creators in a way that people are actually waiting for. Sometimes some people know, some people don't know, but it does captivate people without people even really being accepting to be captivated, if that makes sense. I've heard, art is like the one thing that kind of just has the keys to people's hearts. It doesn't, or it just, has access, doesn't need permission necessarily. And so there's something really special just about being a creative and that being part of our identity. I think that's, we're created in the image of God. So how could we not be creative? On top of that, there have just been, like we had our keynote last year, one of my favorite illustrators. There's just been so many people who are just unbelievable, unbelievably talented people that I look at and I feel like just a smidge of insecurity because of how good they are. And then I get past that and just am able to celebrate how incredible they are and their work. And it's just incredible to hear the stories too. I think that what God has brought some of these people through to the moment of them standing on that stage. A lot of people who reluctantly got on the stage because we know their story and asked them to share it. And they might have large followings on social and things like that. But at the same time, they have the large followings because their work is so good. They don't get to share kind of how they got to that point, how the work got so good in their process. I think of James Graves, Visual Jams is incredible. Did not want to speak at all and then ended up, killing it. Doc Reed last year, he came up from North Carolina actually. And when we asked Doc to speak, his wife was had been battling cancer for a very long time, and she ended up passing between the time of the conference. And of course, we, told him, you don't need to do this. If you want to do this, obviously it's the time is yours, but also we understand, this is incredibly hard. I think he has 3 or 4 girls too, all in high school or below. And And he was able to not just give an incredible talk, but it's such a blessing to me. And because sometimes you think as someone leading something like this, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah.
And, you hear testimonies. It really is a testimony of Doc, who, of course, is struggling with the loss of his wife, his partner, and, parenting these girls. And he used his talk for the conference as a way of processing, actually,
Mm.
and really uh, coming through that. And the way he did it and the way he was able to share it and just be incredibly transparent with people was such a blessing. I don't even know if I could have done that, to be honest. But I mean, that was like a, groundbreaking, tears across the room, just because it's heavy, and I think that's one really special thing about this, because it could just be a creative conference and we have a lot of really talented people. And so you could just come, learn some really good things, become a better creative in any way. But there is a depth and a kind of an eternal pursuit and awareness, of God and of this life in the time and the stories that are shared, that I think really is probably more fruitful than, again, the hard skill stuff. You can learn a lot and be spurred on, from a professional standpoint, certainly. But I think the way in which these stories impress upon us to, go deeper and really press into what God is doing in our own lives and our own stories
Yeah.
is a beautiful thing.
Stories are so unbelievably powerful. John Eldredge, who wrote Wild at Heart,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
wrote a book about stories. I think it's called Epic was the book, and I think I quote this. It's been a while since I quoted this one, but he said that stories are the language of the soul, and
Mm-hmm. I like that.
there's an unbelievable amount of truth to that. I also heard that you can have child prodigies in just about every art form. There can be a child who's just like an incredible painter or an incredible musician,
Mm-hmm.
but we haven't yet seen a child who's an incredible author, because
Hmm.
there's something about living life experiences,
Yeah.
and instilling that story into language that kid just hasn't been able to do that yet. There may be a
Yeah.
technical skill of assigning words in a particular order, but I think when we are able to take the hard skills of our craft and use those to communicate our story, that's when I think these things become so much more powerful. So I love that you've provided a space for people to share their stories and their skills, so that everyone can hear those stories, can speak the same language, can come together and encourage each other, because that's such a beautiful picture of not only community, but I think also heaven. I think the new heaven and the new earth is
Yeah.
going to seem a lot like what the Creative Conference, from what you're describing, of people who are
Yeah,
just like,
I feel it when I'm in the room, man. It's like,
yeah,
whew,
how
yeah,
could you
it's
not?
special. It's special.
Because there are, I mean, the fall just introduced labor and toil,
Yeah.
but work was always around, and there's still going to
Right.
be stuff for us to do. And I think we get to make things, and I think we get to talk about the cool things we get to make. So I am thrilled that you listened to the voice of God saying, "Hey, I want you to bring a little bit of heaven to earth."
Yeah.
In this season, in this time, I have a mission for
Wow.
you, and I'm grateful that you were attentive to that. And you hesitated, but so did all the speakers at the Creative Conference. So did every hero in the Bible.
Right.
God's story of relating to humanity is full of people who heard the call and said, "Surely not me." But God said, "No, exactly you." And it's exactly because of your humility and even your doubt in yourself that God said, "No, you're who I want to work with. You're the one that I want to take and use as my voice to make something incredible." So I sound like I'm wrapping up. We don't have to wrap up just yet. But I do want to say I'm grateful that you listened to the call, because this is a very cool thing. It's a very heaven meets earth thing that you have brought. And it's not just in Columbus now, am I right? You said that someone came from North Carolina. Let's say that someone is from another part of the country and they want to take part in the Created Conference. Traveling, I imagine, I would encourage anyone, no matter where you're from, to come check it out. But what do you have for people in the other parts of the country?
Yeah, I mean, I finally went to Creative South down in Columbus, Georgia, and could not recommend that conference anymore. It's so beautiful. We were down there, a couple of us from Created, went down, had a booth actually, and so met some incredible people who will be launching Created Conversations, which are just more of our, find a coffee shop, find a place, find a table, invite people around it to really see what they're working on, how they're approaching it, to get into some scripture, to pray for each other, really build that deep relationship as, creatives in Tampa Bay, Dallas, Kansas City, and Atlanta, which is crazy to say out loud. So yeah, really excited for that. But I'd be willing to bet that there probably are some Christian creatives in your space. And so, most of the New Testament is Jesus sitting at a table with people, breaking bread, having conversations. And that's really what our whole, motivation behind the Created Conversations is to just make space for conversations wherever people are in their faith, whatever denomination. I mean, we could have a Catholic arguing with a fundamentalist, on a Wednesday morning at 7:30 over coffee, in love, and in that common bond of like, we're both creators and we've had this, common way we've been built and a pursuit, I suppose. And so Jeremy and I, from a conversation standpoint and making space, we don't even necessarily care. Like if Created Conversation, if it's we call them chapters, if it wants to be a chapter and it wants to come under Created and we can, help kind of get the word out, we'd love to do that. We have the system is built to do that, but we're also like, you can just go find people and use our resources. Don't use our resources, be inspired. We'll just pray with you. Whatever people need to feel that encouragement, to make that space, make that community. I feel like we've been too long into the call for me to say I am highly introverted and I don't love to just like go up and talk to people. And the Lord has absolutely changed my heart especially when I was a youth pastor, where it's like, it's your job to go talk to people. So you better do your job at least, right? But you don't need that. You just really need a heart for people. If you really do love God and you ask God to even increase your heart for Him and for people, and you love art and design, whatever, kind of creative pocket you're in, invite people, have them share their story. We were doing 10 by 10s for a while. We kind of go in and out of different conversation starters or people sharing their stuff. People would share their kind of creative story in 10 slides, for 10 minutes or something like that. We always kind of did a little bit differently across groups, but just to get to know people's work, see the work, know their story, their journey. Again, to be known, and loved from creative to creative, I think is a really special thing that it's really not that hard. You really don't need to set too much up. Just show up at a coffee shop for an hour, invite your creative friends, invite creative strangers you meet, reach out online. Know that if no one shows up, it's still fruitful. If there's 2 people, it's fruitful. If there's 12 people, it's fruitful.
If these people want to show up and use your resources, or if someone's interested in attending the Creative Conference, where can they learn more information about this?
Yeah, so you can go to creatednetwork.com. So that's CREATED network.com. And then you can click on the conference page, chapters, all sorts of information. There's a contact form on there as well. So definitely reach out. We are on social. I think we're probably the worst at responding on social media, to be honest. So yeah, use the contact form, hit us up in any way, and we'd love to just support, what God is doing in the creative community. Man, I just want to know every creative that's pursuing Christ, just to, if anything, just encourage, each one of them, because it is hard, and it's a hard gig in that way where it's a lot of bravery to get it out. And then it's even harder to keep going over and over and over again. I'm so impressed by people who are able to do that. So I think everyone just needs encouragement.
If a Christian creative is watching this video and they want to get connected to you because they're craving some encouragement from you, or they want to say, hey, I'm not one of those reluctant speakers. I'll go up and I'll talk. How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I would just hit up my email. I do check it often. So just J-O at Deptowicz.com, which I'm sure will probably be on this video, but Deptowicz.com. Yeah. That's the best way to get in contact. And then I know we're getting on to time. I wanted to share just one thing because I took some time and tried to reflect on, if I could give kind of final parting wisdom
Yes.
to a student that is either junior or senior, at the ICC now, and thank you, Gabe, and thank you everyone else at the ICC. I can still say 10 years later that the ICC was two of the best years of my life, and I miss it. It's really special being a student at the ICC. And I know it, changes from year to year. It is growing, and God's hand has been on that in special ways. But, cherish the time. First of all, I know it's like, wow, groundbreaking. This is not going to be groundbreaking advice, but just cherish the time. Whatever that might look like for you, your classmates. Learn to celebrate others, while you're cherishing the time. I think that's one thing I look back, and I think I was able to do that in some parts, but I just look at my life now, 10 years later, and I feel like the Lord has really helped me stop comparing in a really unhealthy way, which I think is kind of the baseline of comparison. And instead of comparing and feeling insecurity, I feel spurred on and led to encourage, people. It's really hard to get there. I think some of that, to your point earlier, takes time and experience. But if you can just begin to try to force yourself to celebrate others and the good work they're doing, and encourage others who are, not able to do that for themselves even. And yeah, pray about what success looks like. KPIs. I'm like, one of the things that makes us awesome as industrial and product designers is we get paid more money than the graphic designers for the most part.
Yeah.
And there's a reason, because we're usually really business minded, and so we know how to impact and speak about the bottom line, which, at the end of the day, if no one has money, we don't have a job and the company doesn't exist. So it is an important resource that we need to understand, and, but know, and that, I think you learned that's like obvious. You have to know that as a designer. As a person and as a designer, like, know your KPI, like, know what success looks like. I think so many of us, even like we talked about designing shoes, I just want to make cool stuff. Like, you're going to make cool stuff. Don't worry about it. That should not be the guiding, the telos of your life. You should have, what does success look like? Like, at the end of the day, I'm really, really thankful for all the things I've created, but the greatest, the greatest KPI of my life is every day I show up, to pray, to love it, people well, whether it's my family, my kids, my coworkers, my boss, the people over me, the people under me, and serve them well. And part of that is honing your skills, and being good at what you do and confident in those things. And so you're creating things in confidence and providing confidence for others. But now I'm getting long-winded.
No, it's okay. And for those of you watching, if you don't know what a KPI is, look it up.
Yeah.
Look it up.
You have Google. You have
give
AI.
you that homework assignment. Google what KPI is. Well, Joe, I am so thankful for the time you spent to talk to us about a little bit of your journey from graduating the ICC to where you are now. I appreciate the wisdom you have to offer these students. I do have one final question. Do you feel at all like you have betrayed the industry by calling yourself a product designer?
I don't feel like I've betrayed the industry, for sure. Not that I think about that very often, to be honest.
Yeah.
If the question is, do I care? It's definitely no. I feel nothing when it comes to that. If the question is, do
you feel at least a little bit bad that when industrial designers are searching for product design jobs, that they get jobs?
Oh
like
my gosh, yes. I don't. I really don't understand the naming conventions. I will say this: I don't understand the naming conventions across product design, whether physical or hardware, software, whatever it might be. I don't understand why it's come under. I understand we all kind of use the same process and have the same kind of thinking and somewhat similar tools, but not really. It's annoying. I will say it's annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying for us every year to have to tell students, All right, so you're going to go on LinkedIn and you're going to look for product design jobs. Those are not the jobs you're looking for. You're looking for something like industrial engineer. That's going to be closer
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
skill set that you're developing now. But yeah, Joe, it sounds like you're doing okay. I'm excited for you. God is taking you incredible places. I'm so grateful that you've listened and that you've
yeah. It's good.
created this incredible thing, and can't wait to see what it becomes next.
Yeah, Gabe, thanks so much for the time. Thanks for doing this. I think again, you are doing the same thing, helping alumni share their stories, and what God has brought them through and to, and it's just so exciting. And you are such an incredible influence, and continue to be on students and designers in the faith. And so, thank you for all you do, man.
I appreciate you saying that. Stories are powerful. Glad to hear yours. Glad to keep sharing them. And one of the important parts is that no story is the same. The interview I've had with you, totally different than the last one I did, will be totally different than the next one. But God is in all of them, and He cares. That's
Amen. Amen.
Joe,
Amen.
have a great one. Thanks for joining.
All right. Thanks, Gabe.
See you, man.